If you are thinking about leaving Florida, but you're still trying to figure out where you'd actually be happier living day to day, then this video is for you. Now, maybe Asheville is the right landing spot for you, and maybe it's not. But my goal here is to give you some real insights and comparisons of how Florida stacks up to Asheville so that you can make that decision for yourself. I'm Justin Grogan, your Asheville real estate advisor, and I actually grew up in Florida and I lived there throughout my 20s. And I also work with a ton of buyers who are trading in the Florida lifestyle for the beauty and the lifestyle here in Western North Carolina. Now, in today's video, we're going to compare living in Asheville versus living in Florida across climate, outdoor activities, cost of living, lifestyle, and the reality of tourism and traffic. If you find content like this helpful, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to our channel so that you can stay current on the new content that we put out every week to help you better navigate life and the real estate market here in Asheville. And when people start comparing Florida to Asheville, climate is usually the first thing that comes up. Now, it's probably the biggest reason that Florida is our largest inbound feeder market, and it is definitely the reason that my wife will never let us move back to Florida. Now, a lot of folks here are what we affectionately refer to as halfbacks. So these are people who originally moved to Florida from the Northeast or the Midwest to escape the harsh winters, and for a while, maybe that move made a lot of sense. But then it gets too hot for them and they want to move to a more moderate climate, so they end up halfway back from where they started here in North Carolina. And what draws a lot of people here to Asheville is balance. So you get all four seasons, but without the extremes on either end. Summers are noticeably cooler, particularly in the mornings and the evenings. Fall is long and mild, and winters exist, but they're pretty manageable. And spring actually feels like spring. What a concept, I know. Now, for a lot of people, Asheville ends up being that middle ground that feels just right. Not freezing cold, not brutally hot, just more comfortable overall. Now, one of the biggest lifestyle differences between living in Florida versus living in Asheville is how outdoor living actually shows up in your everyday life. In Florida, outdoor activities tend to revolve around being in or on the water because it's so darn hot all the time. You've got the beach and boating, pools, and waterfront activities. Now, those experiences are incredible, but they're also more weather dependent due to the frequent afternoon thunderstorms that are so common throughout Florida. Now, in Asheville, outdoor living looks a little bit different and it tends to offer a little bit more variety. You still have access to water. We've got lakes and rivers and swimming holes and great places to cool off in the summer, but those are balanced with great options for hiking, mountain biking, walking trails, and outdoor spaces that are usable across much of the year. Now, because the temperatures here in Asheville are generally pretty cool, outdoor time doesn't have to be an all or nothing event. It's really easy to step outside for a walk, sit on your porch in the evening, or spend time outdoors without needing to plan your day around heat index, bugs, or thunderstorms. And for many people, that variety and flexibility changes how often they get outside, so outdoor living becomes more a part of your daily life rather than something that's reserved for specific days or conditions. The next big comparison between Florida and Asheville usually comes down to costs of living and the cost of owning a home. In Florida, it's often attractive on the front end for people because there's no state income tax, and who doesn't love that? Of course, that's a big deal if you're still working and generating income. Now, in North Carolina, we do have a modest state income tax, but it's important to note for retirees that the state does not tax Social Security income. But where many homeowners in Florida are feeling the pressure right now is on the insurance side. So Florida, as you probably know, has some of the highest homeowners insurance premiums in the entire country. Insurers in Florida have also been causing a lot of headaches with strict underwriting standards around roofs. Now, North Carolina is not immune to rising insurance costs. Rates have really gone up everywhere over the last few years. But overall, the insurance market here has been far more stable than in Florida. The average homeowner's insurance premiums are typically much lower than in Florida, especially in inland areas like Asheville, and also the underwriting standards are a lot less restrictive here. So our stable insurance market is a big plus for a lot of folks that are moving to the Asheville area from Florida. And real quick, if this has been helpful for you so far, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel so that you can stay up to date with all the new content we put out every week. Now, one of the biggest differences that people notice between living in Florida compared to living in Asheville is just the overall pace of life. In much of Florida, your daily life is shaped by suburban sprawl and the crowding that happens because of it. Busy roads and communities that are spread out over large areas often mean that simple errands can take more time and energy than what you ever expected. And Asheville just feels different. The pace here is so much slower, it's more intentional, and it's a lot less rushed. Errands tend to be quicker, traffic is more manageable, and your daily routines don't feel as compressed. Now, that doesn't mean Asheville is sleepy or inactive. There's still a ton going on. There's festivals and world-class restaurants, live music, and a ton to do. But the energy here is just totally different. And what really reinforces that calmer pace is the environment here itself. The mountains, the trees, the natural landscape, it really just creates a rhythm that naturally encourages you to move to a little bit slower pace and be a little bit more present. And for a lot of people coming from Florida, that difference in pace ends up being one of the most meaningful changes they experience after their move. Now, let's talk about tourism, because both Asheville and Florida have a lot of tourism. It just shows up in different ways. Now, in Florida, tourism is constant and very widespread. Between snowbird season, spring break, summer travel, and year-round visitors, many areas feel crowded all the time. Now in Asheville, we have a ton of tourism too, but it shows up a little bit differently in that it tends to be more seasonal and more concentrated in the fall leaf season and the peak summer travel season. So you'll notice it in pockets, like in downtown, on popular trails, and along major roads. But the trade-off is that outside of those windows, Asheville often feels a much, much calmer place than Florida does. Now, ultimately, living in a tourist destination is a good thing, in my opinion. I personally would rather live somewhere that people want to visit as opposed to living somewhere that no one wants to be because there's nothing going on. But Asheville gives you that feeling of being in a desirable location without it feeling too overwhelming and constant and all the time. So if you've stuck with me this long, you're either really seriously thinking about moving from Florida to Asheville, or you just really, really like mountain views and real estate comparison videos. But regardless of how you got here, I would be thrilled to help you relocate to Asheville, just like I've helped a ton of other people in your same shoes. So give me a call, shoot me a message, and let me know how I can be a resource for you. I'm Justin Grogan, your Asheville real estate advisor. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.